Hello. This is mainly a spontaneous chill video of me rambling and drawing on a t-shirt I made. And if you want to just skip directly to that, you can go to this time in the video. I didn't record really any of the process of me altering the shirt at first, mainly because I did not have a plan and I was just operating off of pure audacity. But if anyone for some reason wants to know or follow what I did, here's a quick recap. So, I bought this tank top from the men's section at Walmart. It cost me less than 10 bucks. And what I did was I cropped the bottom off to make it shorter, just one cut straight across. I think it was about 12.5 inches. I didn't really measure it out beforehand, so it came out a bit lopsided, but no one's gonna notice. Anyway, then I decided that I wanted a little extra spice. I was already planning on adding some drawn decorations, but I just wanted a little something extra rather than just a plain old cropped tank top. So I watched like 2 TikTok tutorials and I did not follow either of them. I just eyeballed the extra fabric that I had from cutting off the bottom of the tank top. I sliced it again. I sewed up the back and attached the bottom edge to the neck of the shirt. It was a little too long, so I let it bunch up a bit at the shoulders and folded it at the middle so that it could be a proper hood shape. And voila, a cropped tank top with a hood. As a little bonus, the hood has a sort of wizard point at the top. It was not planned. It's just because I cut the hood in a square shape, but I am going to act like I completely planned it. Anyways, onto the artwork. So here I am, I'm sliding the sketchbook into it because when I was doing the little swatches with the fabric markers that I'm gonna end up using, it bled through quite a bit, and so that's why the sketchbook is there. Also so that I could have a sort of stretched out flat surface to do this sort of sketch on. I'm using chalk there. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure seamstresses and whatnot, like tailors, I'm pretty sure they use chalk when they're like defining measurements. I just had a tiny piece that I had stolen from a classroom, so that's what I'm using. It honestly took me quite a bit to come up with an idea of what I wanted to design on this shirt. I knew I wanted it to be on the back because I didn't want the front to get warped, and I knew that I didn't want it to be too complicated. I had a whole brainstorming session where I was inspired by like Brian Froud, because he is the love of my life, and in particular I was looking at this like adorable bunny themed troll lady. A bit off topic, I needed to gush about it a little bit. I whipped out all of my books in order to reference them, but all of my sketches were coming out a bit too detailed, which is sort of how I eventually settled on this. You can see I'm checking right now if my little deer dragon is centered. I felt like he was leaning, like he was shifted a bit too much to the right, which is why I'm adding this sun sort of detail, because I didn't want to erase it all and move him over to the left a little bit. But the way that I came up with the idea to draw a deer dragon, eventually after I sort of like scrapped the whole inspiration thing from Brian Froud, I was just like, well, my little creature Sona guy, they have little antlers, big antlers, and I really like dragons, so, you know, 1 and 1
combination.
So yeah, that's essentially how I came to this idea. Once I got the sketch down, that's when I started using those markers that I talked about before. I got them from Walmart. I think I still have the packaging. If I do, I'll put it up on screen now. I got them a while ago, which is why I can't quite remember where I got them from. I think they worked pretty well. They did say that they work better on lighter colored surfaces, but I figured it's black on purple. If it's not the darkest, starkest thing in the world, I'm not going to be upset. One of the markers was sort of a fat brush tip marker, and the other one was a smaller bullet nib type situation. I did tiny swatches on like the last scrap of fabric I had from this poor shirt, but it was more just to see how much it would bleed through and what sort of pigmentation I would get. I didn't actually practice drawing lines and seeing about thickness and thinness. I probably should have. I guess I just got too impatient because the shirt had been sitting around while I was trying to brainstorm design ideas for a day or two, I think, at this point. I ended up liking the brush tip because I felt like I got better control, but whenever I was using it and it was sort of sideways, sort of like how you can see now, the fat the fat edge of it would sometimes like still brush up against the fabric, and I don't think it shows here, but later on after I wash it, I think you can definitely see that there's a bit of a shadow around some of the outlines from that. I mean, I don't know if anyone is here for my review of these markers so that they can paint on them, but there it is. I will say the bullet nib, it also got caught, sort of. It like snagged on its way while I was drawing on the fabric quite a bit, which is why I'm using very short strokes and I'm going over them, because I did want it to have a sort of graphic look, and so I did want the lines to have a certain smoothness to them, which again, because the brush tip, it wasn't soft, but it was softer than the bullet tip, so it was able to sort of glide over the fabric a bit easier. I do think this is also a good time to mention that I love yapping about all kinds of different things, but I am not a professional chatterbox. Like, I am very stressed right now trying to come up with entertaining stuff to say over this. Maybe I should just let like music go for a little bit, because I think I have stuff to say later. Yeah, I'm gonna let that happen. Hold on. Now I'm just adding some little finishing touches. I'm pretty much done with the dragon design. I love the little pointy hoof feet. And then after I finished it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't not have antlers on the sides of the hood, because part of like a big inspiration of how I even came up with the back design in the first place was the fact that my little Sona character has antlers. So yeah, here I am. I'm using the same sketchbook that I used to shield the insides and other side of the fabric, and I'm just drawing, a little random antler. I didn't want to make it sort of the usual style that I give my Sona, the sort of very long, sticky antlers. I felt like it didn't match the dragon enough, which is why I made this one sort of fatter and pointier, and also I think it'll just look better as little subtle designs on each side of the hood. And so the reason that I'm cutting it out is because I'm not too stressed. They are antlers, and so they're organic. It's not the end of the world if they don't match each other, but I figured that having a guide of some sort. It would help while I'm trying to make it even on each side of the hood. It ended up looking smaller on the hood than I expected. It wasn't entirely planned, but it did sort of work out because I figured that if I just sort of outline it with the fabric marker, it'll beef it up a little anyway, and it'll be easier than actually just trying to trace it. I didn't have a plan, really. Like, everything you're seeing here is pretty much the same as how I made the shirt in the first place. I just get an idea and I decide that I'm gonna try and do it because why not? I am just freehanding this. Like, I probably should have traced it with chalk and made it like a sort of refined sketch like I did with the dragon, but I just kept thinking, oh well, you know, it's antlers, and also that's too much work for me to do. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did not put the sketchbook inside the hood. Like, I didn't block it. I don't know. I don't know what the word is. And my sort of scheme there was, a part of me was hoping that if I mapped out and I drew out the antler on this side and I really finished it and I put in all the same amount of ink that I was putting on the other part of the fabric, that maybe it would bleed through just enough that I could see some of the outline from the other side. That's part of the reason why I also colored in these tips, because I was hoping that if I could just have the barest like markers that I could reference when I was trying to match up the antler on the other side, that maybe it could help me out. And I don't know why it didn't bleed through at all, which, you know, it's fine. I realized I probably should do like a little bit of planning because, again, they don't have to be perfectly symmetrical, but I knew that it would bother me a lot if they ended up really skewed. So there is no math behind this. I'm just making little markers so that I can sort of line it up. I mean, I think it came out good enough. Like, it didn't... I'm not super bothered by it, you know? And if anybody points out that I should be bothered by it, I am going to ignore it because I think it came out good and I am happy. So, yep, there, I'm putting the sketchbook in because I knew it was in vain, and making the other antler. And here is the sort of a finished product. I totally did not almost forget that I should probably put some kind of signature on it, so I am doing it here. I did have to wash it after this. I had to, like the instructions said, to let it sit and dry for 24 hours and then machine wash it on gentle. And like I said, it came out a bit sort of smudged, but overall I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It is a bit embarrassing, I suppose, talking into the microphone and like trying to be an entertainer or just rambling on about this stuff, but I am trying to practice. I'm trying to get better at this, and I know that I like to just put on art videos in the background while I'm doing stuff and other people are yapping about their stuff. So maybe this is something that someone else can use for when they're doing artistic things. I did a bit of a shoot so that you can see the finished product once it is out of the washer and dryer. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.